Kelly gets crucified, Tebow is risen, and Trinidad is king. It's a 10-tape Truth Monday here on the McShay Show, and just 178 days until the NFL Draft. Muench, you good?
I'm good, man.
Roll that beat, Tucker. In Sunday school growing up, everyone told me that God has a sense of humor. So I feel like it's well within my right to make some jokes in the open. What a wild weekend, and it only got wilder with the firing of Brian Kelly. This episode is presented by Duluth Trading Company. Ready to give rival tailgates the foam finger? Duluth Trading Company crafts Hall of Fame game day gear to help you grill hotter, cheer louder, and tailgate longer. Bibs loaded with pockets, gusseted pants so you can crouch without snuffing out your coals, and free swinging shirts tailor-made for cornhole tossing. Stay comfortable from preseason to playoffs in the toughest tailgate attire around, only at Duluth Trading Company. And parting ways, LSU and Brian Kelly. I do want to mention before we get into all of this, the McShay report is out. Kind of a recap of everything that went on and kind of my initial thoughts with Brian Kelly even before we knew he was going to get fired. And I'll touch on that in a second, as I said. Thursday, if you're not a subscriber to the McShay report, it's starting to take off, and we appreciate all of the support. Thursday, we have a special show and a special McShay report, right? It's going to be for premium subscribers. So you can subscribe, just put in your email, and you can do it for free. But if you want to be a premium person, girl or boy, and you want to get the inside information, some of the biggest things that we do, and you want to be able to send in your questions, we're going to get to as many as we can on Thursday in the show, and then a whole bunch more that we don't get to on the show will come out Thursday morning in the McShay report. So it's your opportunity to ask questions. I don't care if it's about coaching. I don't care if it's about personnel. I don't care if it's about college football or leading up to the NFL draft. We'll get to a host of things. So we're excited for that. And then, of course, we're back for Saturday night. Got another good slate coming up in week 10 of college football. And I'm back in studio. Everyone take a deep breath. I know people were saying when I was down in Nantucket this weekend and had my vest on, everyone was saying blink twice if you're in danger. It was a one-off. We apologize. It wasn't the most beautiful looking show, but we got to a lot of good content. So here we are, back in studio. Everything's normal and feels good. I'm energized today, Muench. And it's not because Brian Kelly was fired. I just feel like there's a lot of big things going on in college football. The college football playoff, the college football coaching carousel, and this NFL draft class is fascinating, right? So we've got a lot of stuff that we want to get to today's show and throughout the rest of the week. We said it's interesting, right? It's funny how the world works, how life works sometimes. I'm watching the end of that LSU game on Saturday night, and I can't help but, honestly, I was more focused on Marcel Reed and what they were doing offensively and how Texas A&M took off in the second half. And we talked about Mike Elko and the singular focus of we've got to tackle better. And they threw a pair of interceptions. They had the special teams blunder that led to a safety, and LSU came racing back, and they're leading 18-14 at half. So I'm focused on the X's and O's, the personnel, and what's going on in that game. But it was in the back of my mind as we're watching. Thankfully, I've developed good relationships at a lot of places across the country, covering college football and the NFL draft and pro days and everything else. And my love for food, too, doesn't hurt. So I wind up breaking bread with a lot of people when I travel. And some of the conversations I've had over the last, let's say, 16 months with people in Baton Rouge and knowing the temperature there, I feel like I'm kind of uniquely qualified in that I grew up in the North, outside of Boston, lived 20 years in Boston, just about, but also spent a good time. Like, very few people grow up in the North in the Northeast and spend as much time as I have over the past 25 years covering college football, the NFL draft, going to pro days and all of it, than I do, and I have. And I've embraced the culture down there. And it is a different culture, and it's a wonderful culture. And the weather's different. And when it's like winter and summer, and it's oppressive, and you want to get out of there. It's when it's beautiful up here in the Northeast. And for about the other 7-8 months of the year, 6-7 months of the year, it's where you want to be in the South and not here. But none of this has to do with weather. None of this has to do with food. This has to do with the people, okay? And it's the sources that I've accrued over time. And more importantly, honestly, it's having lived there. Like, I lived in Greenville, South Carolina for a year. I had traveled there and spent four days a clip. 15 weeks a year, I'm going down the South, a good portion of it, to go cover big-time football games. And I'm meeting people and getting to know them. And there's no place in this country more welcoming than the South, especially like the Southeast of this country. When you're a visitor, they want to share with you. It's not like when you come up here. When Southern people come up north, Northern people are kind of confused by them. They talk a little different. They care about things that maybe we don't care. Like in the Northeast, we're very intellectual. We have the best hospitals and the best colleges, and there's some wonderful aspects of people in the Northeast. We don't bullshit. What you see is what you get. Go fuck yourself. That's kind of the culture. But we love hard here. We just love differently. Down South, they embrace and they welcome in. And they love the hospitality aspect of it. And even living there for a year, the men are more fun. The women, more beautiful. But the women are like hosting. And together, you're out on boats and you're in the Gulf Shores and you're hunting and fishing and golfing and there's barbecues and it's a culture. But when I lived there, I noticed they get over the fact that you're not a visitor anymore. And it's kind of like, I don't know how in we're going to let you get. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's interesting. Yep.
As a visitor, I felt like there's no place in the world like this. As a resident, it was like, oh, he's a Yankee. He's come down here. I don't know. Like, it's going to take a long time if we're going to actually let him in the circle. And I don't know that we ever will. So that's the backdrop here. And it's why I say I'm kind of uniquely, I feel like I have a unique perspective on this. I think at first, Brian Kelly was a visitor, and he came down and he did the family thing. And he was a championship caliber coach, so it seemed. And he had won a lot of big games. And they felt like he was the next up. They've had 3 coaches in recent history to go to win national championships there, and he was going to be the next guy up. And so they embraced him as kind of a visitor, but someone who was going to take them back to where they want to go in Baton Rouge with the LSU football program that demands excellence. They support it in a way, financially, emotionally, all the ways that you need to support a program. It is met by the people of Baton Rouge and the state of Louisiana at LSU. But then Brian Kelly became a resident. And there seemed to be this divide going up. And as I'm talking to people down there, the shine wore off. And now he's this northerner who grew up in Somerville, not far from where you and I grew up, Steve, and kind of has a little edge to him and a little bit different than what they're used to, and maybe doesn't understand the culture down there. So it was kind of like really quietly underneath the surface brewing a little bit. And I was aware of that. And that's why when we came on Saturday night, even though I didn't plan on really talking about it much, you asked me the question. And when we were done with the show at about 1 a.m. Eastern time, you said, sorry, I don't know if you wanted me to ask you that question of are you talking about he's done or you just feel like this season might be over? And I wasn't planning on talking about it, but you asked the perfect question, Steve, at the perfect time. And I just dug in. And I said, the Sharks are circling. They have been, and people didn't know quite to the level. And they were waiting on an opportunity to say, this is the moment. And I said, it's Sunday or Monday, I feel like something might happen. Sure enough, here we are. And it happened fast, didn't it?
Did not take long. It did not. I told you he was walking off the field. There was a clip of him walking off the field talking to a deputy AD. And I called you and I texted you. I was like, dude, this feels like Herm Edwards walking off the field at Arizona State when it was over there. It just had the same feeling of.
Let me ask you this question. Let me cut you off. Sorry. Do all those people meet and come to a decision? Hey, we need to go talk to him. We're going to put the action in place. The plan of action, like let's get it in place right now. If it hadn't been brewing.
No.
You don't do that in the second half of a game. Like all of a sudden out of nowhere, everyone's happy. We believe in this guy. One half of football, 30 minutes of football. We better go down the field and talk to Brian, right?
Right. I mean, it has to have been going on for a while. And I'll say this. I don't think he got fired because he didn't mesh with the culture down there. He got fired because he didn't win enough games to be the head coach of LSU. And I think that's what you're saying too. But the point is that his not being able to endear himself to the fan base and the community gave him less wiggle room. There was
if he's one of them and he had endeared, like Ed Orgeron is kind of one of them.
Love it. Love Coach O. Love Coach O.
But Ed, things were brewing, but there was a little bit of a longer leash and an acceptance, even when it was 100%. A disaster. I think it was 2020, right?
100%.
This felt like, give us a reason to, and we'll take it.
Yeah.
And that's what happened.
I agree.
So with that, my expectation, and whether it's me reading between the lines, some of the tea leaves, or just understanding the culture, or talking to people down there. And I can answer that. Like it's a little bit of all three. The next hire will be one of them, if you will. Someone who is ingrained in the southeast portion of the country, area of the country, has an understanding of what is, it's just college football down there, man. You know? They're going to be so when I hear the names start to come up, keep that in mind.
Saban's coming back, right?
Nick Saban, Lane Kiffin, which is interesting, but he's, whether it's, Alabama, Tennessee, Ole Miss, like he has been in that culture and has ingrained himself in that culture for so long. And Dan Lanning, time in Georgia, right?
Right.
Joe Brady, that magical 2019 season, what he did with Joe Burrow and the special group of talent that they had on the offensive side of the ball. Those are the names I'm hearing that I'm actually taking seriously.
Makes sense.
Someone that's been there, done that in the Southeast, in the SEC, had proven success, track record. And it's kind of, that's the hierarchy. I'm not saying there's not other names that won't come up, and maybe it's a name that's not, maybe it's a candidate that gets hired that's not of one of those four. But those are four of the names in talking to people and understanding the situation that kind of make a lot of sense.
Could you imagine if they got Marcus Freeman? Another Notre Dame coach? Like, yeah, I don't think that's happening either. It doesn't make sense, but it would be, that'd be quite the story.
And I don't want to, we will get more information and we'll stay on top of this as it moves forward. I can say this based off of what I do know. LSU is going to make an offer to Nick and to Miss Terry.
Of course.
That will force them to reconsider their justifiable stance of, at this point in our lives, working College Game Day, ESPN, ABC is where we belong. It's healthier. Nick's enjoying it. Miss Terry's loving it. it's time. And I want everyone to remember that Nick left 7 national championships, all the greatness, and he's the greatest coach in college football history, above Bear Bryant. But he left because college football had changed, and it was time. And the recruiting and the NIL and the transfer portal, it's just like it's hard to coach anymore. But there's no one more qualified to commend, even at his age and his point in his career, to kind of temper, keep the rat poison out, and do all the things. And he's even said publicly, and I've talked to him in meetings, one of his, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but regrets in his coaching history was leaving LSU. Now, I've literally sat in 2 different meetings with him and talked to him about the Drew Brees and the injuries and the doctors and Miami and the ownership. And I've had really long, interesting conversations where he's just gone on rants about it. And it wasn't necessarily about leaving LSU, although he truly does hold a special place in his heart. Baton Rouge, LSU, and that program. He does. And I heard it in his voice and in his words. The regret was more, I'm the greatest. He didn't say that, I'm paraphrasing. I learned quickly in the NFL, my mission was to become the greatest coach, the most successful coach in college football history. And maybe I should never. I know I could succeed in different circumstances in the NFL, but this is where I belong, college football. But he does hold a special place in his heart for LSU. And I think LSU, knowing what I know, I don't think they have delusions of grandeur. I don't think that they believe that they absolutely will get Nick Saban. But I do know the people down there, and I will be shocked privately. Not something that is going to, Thamel's going to start reporting or anyone else. Privately, there will be an offer made that will make Nick walk into his home office with Miss Terry or get out in the lake and say, let's at least talk about this for a minute. What would this look like? That's my guess. But I don't know that it's going to be enough. I don't think $100 million over X amount of years would necessarily be enough. He's got money, he's got rings, he's got everything that you could ever imagine a coach, when you set out to be a college coach, could have.
Right.
But this might be the only place that he might say, well, let's sit down and talk. Let's think about this. Thoughts?
Interesting.
Yeah.
I think it all tracks, man. It all tracks. I mean, you hit all of the points. I will say that's interesting to me is he's not sitting at home at a desk, and I do wonder if that travel schedule for game day is a little more than maybe he anticipated when he first took that job. And I mean, it's not like he's fully retired, hanging out on the porch, sipping iced tea. This is a guy that's still working. It's not someone who is not in a position to come back and do this kind of a job. So
no, he's a CEO of a Fortune 500 company. I've been around a couple CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, and at some point it's a forced retirement. But you still have access to security, to car services, to private planes. You're a board member. You have an office in the building. And so that's what he is. He's still a CEO of a Fortune 500 company.
Yeah.
And that Fortune 500 company is Alabama football. But that can easily be transferred from Alabama football to LSU football. And there's a way to structure it where he's doing the things that he wants to do inside the program, but has the people running some of the operational things, including the offensive and defensive coordinators and all that. And that's how he was running it during his latter years at Alabama. Regardless of all that, Dan Lanning is awfully intriguing. Mm-hmm. I'm told, just a quick couple calls, like the buyout is astronomical, and it's both Oregon and externals. It's beyond just a school buyout, okay?
Yep.
And we're coming up on 20 minutes in the show, and I didn't want to go this long, but I think it's important to mention some of those names. And to share why I was saying what I was saying late Saturday night, even though I hadn't planned on it, but I'm glad you asked me the question. And it led to me being able to share what I did know through experience and through conversations I've had. And we saw within 24 hours that move was made. Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin's about to be way richer than he was.
Yeah.
And
Ole Miss better pay that man.
And he's a rich man. But now it's about to be like his great-great-grandkids are about to be taken care of. His grandkids are, maybe his great-grandkids, but his great-great-grandkids are about to be taken care of. Because if it ain't LSU, it's Florida. If it ain't Florida, it's Ole Miss. Someone's about to pay that hot yoga doing,
trash talking
son of a gun. Yeah. And I love it, and I'm here for it.
Me too. Me too.
All right, let's move. Today is about 10 tape truths. And I got to be honest with you off the top. I hope I don't disappoint. But Muench and I have talked. We've gone back and forth. I think we got an awesome show for you. So let's kick things off. I've talked too much already. Muench, take it away with tape truth number one here on a Monday in the McShay Show.
Tape truth number one. We haven't had a lot of chances to talk about Ohio State because of the schedule, but tape truth number one is I don't see a first round offensive lineman when I watch Ohio State's tape, but I think the sum is greater than the parts, and I think they're going to be all right. And before I get into it, I just really want to recognize the passing of Nick Mangold, who obviously played at Ohio State, was a 3-year starter, national champion, All-American at Ohio State, went on to be a first-round pick for the Jets, 7-time Pro Bowler, 2-time first-team All-Pro, went to 2 AFC championship games with the Jets, which is saying something. Just an amazing football player.
I actually got to know Nick after his during his Jets career, after he was drafted. And quite honestly, more than anything in all those accolades, just a good man. And it's gut-wrenching. So I'm glad you brought that up.
I did not know him, but every interaction I've heard about with him is that he's just a great dude. And I think, an interesting quick story is that anyone who watches the show knows I'm a big fan of the band Fish. And the guitarist for Fish, Trey Anastasio, is a big Jets fan, and his favorite football player of all time was Nick Mangold, and they had developed a little bit of a relationship, and it just speaks to me about what kind of a reach he had in terms of other communities. I mean, everyone who's ever talked about Nick Mangold, who's also in the Ring of Honor, I don't know if I mentioned that, but really my thoughts are with his family. I had 41 years old. It's a big-time loss for the football community, and it's a big-time loss for people, overall. So with that being said, talking about the Ohio State offensive line, again, I don't see a first-round talent up front. There are some issues here. I mean, Ohio State ranks 10th in the Big Ten in rushing yards per game, okay? And any one of their starting 5 can get beat clean in pass protection. There are some issues there, okay? The other thing I will say is I'm more confident in the left side of their offensive line, center out, than I am on the right side. The right side is when we start getting into the Indianas of the world and Texas A&M and Oregon, when you start playing those games in the Big Ten championship or in the playoff, this is going to be a come to Jesus moment for this offensive line. That being said, here's why I feel good about it. It's been the same starting 5 in every game. These guys play really well together. I think there's been some development. I like the way they're not great athletes, but the way they run inside zone creates natural double teams on combo blocks. And they're really good about, if you're an offensive lineman, you know what I'm saying, about securing the line of scrimmage before working up to the second level. That inside zone is something that's going to be key for them in their run. They do some misdirection and counter stuff that I think is really good for that offensive line. And they compete their asses off. They really do compete hard. They're not great athletes, but they fight like hell to stay in front in pass protection, and they're generally good enough, especially with those receivers who can get open quickly and Julian Saint who can move around a little bit. They're generally good enough to survive in pass protection, and I mentioned that all 5 of the same starting 5 for all games. That means they're really good about understanding how to pick up pressures, pass off line stunts, and you see that on tape. So, again, there's no elite talents up front. Josh Simmons didn't play much last year, but he's not there anymore. Donovan Jackson's gone. He was great for them last year. There's no elite talents, but I think this group's going to be good enough for them to make another run.
It's interesting you say that. And I remember last year, the offensive line with the injury of Simmons at left tackle and kicking Jackson out to left tackle and the movement, some of the struggles that occurred come playoff time, they peaked.
They worked out, right? They got a new offensive line coach too, Tyler Bowen, and seems to be doing a really good job.
And so it'll be interesting to see if that staff can, with a new offensive line coach, with new personnel, can have a similar trajectory. And don't forget, week 10, first day of November, supposed to be like Truth Saturday for the Big Ten, for Ohio State, for Penn State. And I'm not saying Penn State's totally incapable of shocking the world, but I'm saying it pretty damn close from based off what we've seen.
It doesn't look good. It does not look good.
But then it's like, I want to say Purdue, UCLA, Rutgers. Like, these are all massive favorites until you get to that Michigan game. And will this be the year Ryan Day and the Buckeyes are able to kind of exercise all the demons? But my goodness, are they tracking to just, it is like the Acela, if you live in the Northeast, as I mentioned, the Acela train to the college football playoff as a number one seed right now, as it looks, right?
Agree. Yep.
I like that. And I feel like it's important because here's why it's important, Steve, because we know about Julian Sayin, and I spent a lot of time on him last week, and he is taking those next steps. We know about the wide receivers. Best tandem in the country, Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate. And historically, they're up there, right, with Brian Hartline. We know about Hartline and what he's been able to do, offensive coordinator. We know now about Matt Patricia and this defense that lost 8 starters. But the run game and the offensive line for Ohio State, because the schedule has not been what we expected it to be and has not been to the caliber of what we're seeing week in and week out in the SEC, it's a little bit of an unknown right now. So to hear you say that is promising, but it's certainly kind of the one area that we're looking at this team saying, like, if you can get them, maybe that's part of the equation in getting them, but it probably won't be until Michigan and beyond this season. All right, tape truth number 2. I'm going to take a sip of lemon perfect because we're about to roll. I am, at least. Mensch is already rolling. Tape truth number 2. There is not a quarterback in the SEC that I would fear more playing on a given Saturday than Trinidad Chambliss at Ole Miss.
Whoa.
Not one. And we came into this year, Mensch, don't forget.
Not Ty Simpson, your guy?
Not right now. Not this very second. I'm saying Ty Simpson's the best quarterback in the country.
Right, you're saying 2 different things. I understand.
I'm saying 2 different things. I'm saying the way that they're used, and I'm glad you met, but we came in this season. Remember, it's Arch, it's Nussmeier, it's Lenora Sellers. I'm not saying he's the best. I'm not saying he's playing the best. I'm not saying any of that. I'm just saying there's a special thing going on at Ole Miss with Lane Kiffin and Trinidad Chambliss. Okay, and Ty, like, Ty's a different plane. Ty's a Joe Burrow. Yes, like, Ty's the best quarterback, I think, in the country. And I've gone on long rants. But I'm saying there's something about this cat right now, Trinidad, with Lane Kiffin more dialed in and a step ahead, maybe 2 steps ahead, every other defensive coordinator that he's facing, including Kirby Smart, including Brent Venables. I just don't want to play these guys. Because I look at Ty Simpson, I see, like, all right, well, if we bottle this up and if this happens and if we can, they don't have much of a running game. Like, there's some physical, I don't want to say limitation. This isn't about me knocking Ty. I love Ty. I'm the biggest Ty fan in the whole world.
You don't have to.
So I don't want to sit here and have to explain it. But I'm saying to you that in the SEC now, as Pavia, Diego Pavia has become the golden child and all the success they've had. And he's a wonderful story, and he's doing some Johnny Manziel-like things. And as Marcel Reed is exploding onto the scene like a second time and like seems to be taking his game to another level, I'm watching, and I'll get to Marcel Reed in a second. I'm telling you right now, for all the love Marcel Reed is getting, and most of it is deserved, I'm taking Trinidad with Lane in that offense Lane. Right now.
Okay.
With Lane.
That is a key caveat. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm watching a guy who now has fast eyes. Lane has gotten him to the point where he totally 100% understands where to look with those eyes, what he's looking for, and what the beater is. Okay? It's not necessarily the most complex pro style, left to right progressions, full fields, and all that, but he is so damn decisive right now. And that wasn't the case even a few weeks ago. It's getting better every week. And I'll sit here and I'll talk to you. The weakness is for Trinidad, touch throws, finesse throws are his kryptonite. We had a quarterback at the University of Richmond, Jimmy Miles, right?
Love Jimmy Miles.
Love Jim, great guy. Love being in the room with him. Absolutely hysterical, but like between the lines, all business. But mobile, strong, like almost kind of similar traits to Trinidad.
Great
right?
leader, natural leader. Yeah.
Natural leader. Dude. Everyone kind of, but mobile, like athletic, strong runner, big time arm. Everything. I remember the first day sitting on Richmond practice, coming from Swampscott, Massachusetts, and watching him throw this like 20 back to 15 out and being like, oh shit, I don't belong here. You know what I mean? Like,
welcome to college. Yep.
I could hear the ball spinning, right? But then we would do some drills, and I remember like Jim Reed, our coach, was like, McShay, like, you go run the screens, you go run some of the like, because we weren't getting the looks for the one defense, because he just struggled with the kind of that touch finesse, drop it over, wait for the linebacker to get to you, drop it over. So like I would have to jump in and do a couple of those things. But for all the talent in the world this guy has, it's that touch throw. So with Trinidad, it's the same. I'm watching whether it's a screen, it's a short, like one of those easy. He had it was a screen pass, and then 10 seconds left, third quarter. It was a 3rd and 1, play action. One receiver releases, single receiver, right? Gets behind the defenders. Chambliss just doesn't get the touch to drop it in, overshoots it. Now, I did see later in the game, 7:04 fourth quarter, it's a slug-o. It's a little bit more down the field, almost easier for him. But he missed on some deep shots over his season so far. But it was a huge play for them. We're down the right rail on that slug-o. But that's his kryptonite right now. But I'm telling you, I'm watching a guy who is driving the ball intermediate, vertically into tight windows. He had that one rollout to his right where he like the tight window with 2 defenders closing, just drills it in there on the move. Awesome throw. But not only is it the throw and the physical ability, it's the confidence he now has and the decisiveness he has. He's just trusting it. He's trusting his eyes, trusting his arm. Like It's a special thing to watch a quarterback go from any level, but to go from D2 and to be in some of those moments and then to fail a fourth quarter against Georgia and come right, like pick himself right back off the mat. And there were a couple times in this game on Saturday where you're like, uh-oh, is he going to go like revert back? Is he having like PTSD from fourth quarter Georgia? And he pulled himself right out of those moments. It's growth. I'm also here to tell you, while he's a work in progress as a passer, and I'm not saying he's ever going to be this really good starter in the NFL, I'm drafting Trinidad at some point in April.
Interesting.
Because I'm seeing the progress in such a short period of time, and he does have a good deal of game experience, just not at this level. But to see someone grow like that, and thick frame, strong runner, the ability to drive the ball, on the move, create, like as a backup quarterback in the league, to be able to come in and have those tools at his disposal. But this is about Ole Miss right now. And they've got a quarterback that is absolutely like developing at a rate that is exciting to watch. And Lane deserves a lot of credit, but Chambliss deserves a lot of credit for it too, man. Because he's taking to the coaching. He's putting in the work. It's so clear that he understands what they're doing now better than he has at any point in this season. And I then watched Marcel read, and we'll get to him first in a second. I'm taking Trinidad over Marcel. And I know that might, and Lane, yes, of course.
Yeah.
But I'm telling Trinidad is thicker, he's stronger. Marcel is super quick, and I'll get to Marcel. That's my next tape truth. Marcel is super quick, lightning quick. I'll talk to you about all of his traits. But he ain't that fast. Like Trinidad's just as fast, maybe a tick faster. And he breaks tackles and he weaves through. And his arm and his decisiveness. This is an offense that's operating. Texas A&M isn't always that. Ole Miss is in the college football playoff. I mean, I know it's not factual, but I haven't seen any. This is the type of game that Ole Miss would have dropped in previous years.
Easily.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Things are different down there right now. And Lane deserves a lot of the credit, but and don't forget, this guy, Trinidad Chambliss, who replaced Simmons.
Austin Simmons, yeah.
Austin Simmons was like 263rd or something like crazy like that on some board with the transfer portal quarterback prospects.
Such a great story.
And Lane saw his tape and was like, no, that's my guy. You guys can take the other 250 plus. I want him. I just love stuff like this. And it's not just because it's D2 and move. It's because the product on the field is actually something I'm really intrigued as an NFL draft prospect. And I didn't think I'd ever be here. All right, tape truth 3. And I kind of touched on it there. I love Texas A&M. I've been beating this drum for a while, and I know you do too, Steve. I love their defense. I love Cassius Howell. I love the fact that they get home with four rushers, better than maybe any other program in the country. They're up there. Even more so than Ohio. They got 7 sacks on Nussmeier this week. You know how many they had to blitz to get? 0. All 7 4-man rushes. I love the growth we're seeing from Marcel Reed. I love those wide receivers. Casey Concepcion, I talked last week before this game. He didn't make the top 32. He's on the fringe. Keep an eye out on this guy. Special with the ball in his hands. Kind of the body control, the vision, contact return game in addition to wide receiver. Okay, and I love Craver opposite him. And I can't heap enough praise on Mike Elko. Mike Elko is the man that has been missing at that program for so long, okay? And I want you to look at this. Marcel Reed in the offense, record-breaking night in Baton Rouge. This program is now 8-0 for the first time since 1992. And offensively, A&M, they scored 40-plus points for the 5th time this season. That's a first ever, apparently. They're doing special things, is my whole point. And I'm buying what Elko in this program is doing. But with Marcel Reed, let's touch on the great. The great is, and Kirk Herbstreit mentioned this on the broadcast. I was watching the game. I had to get up and go grab something real quickly. And as I'm walking away from the TV screen, I still had the volume on. And I heard Kirk make a comparison. He's known Marcel, I guess, since grade school or middle school. And his kids
yep.
So he has a unique vantage point on him. And I know he was talking about the parents and the mom, the dad's a coach and the mom is the boss and all those things that you love to hear. But he said there's some things in his game that remind me a lot of Lamar Jackson. And that's when I was walking away. I was like, ooh, what? How are you going to finish? How are you going to land this one, Kirk? And he said, I'm not saying he's the same, but at that stop-start, and that part I agree with him. Because there's 2 parts of his game. That stop-start is special, and it creates so many yards and ability to create and extend plays so frequently. Then there's also this part of his game when he gets to the top of his drop and decides he's going to go. And I don't even mean take off running. I mean sometimes climbing and then sliding. Those first 2-3 steps are like Guinness Book of World Record kind of, on the football field. He is lightning quick when he decides I'm going to run, whether it's to stay in the pocket or to run out. That first 2-3, it's special, and it creates a lot of these big plays. But what he doesn't have, and the reason why he wouldn't go full Lamar on you, Kirk, is that top end speed. I want to remind people, Lamar Jackson ran an unofficial 4.33. Michael Vick ran a 4.31. I think it was his pro day. I got an eye for this. Marcel's a 4.5.
It's pretty good.
It's not probably a 4.51, 4.53 guy. Okay, and so that's a difference. And so while it puts a little bit of a ceiling on in terms of like what he can do against elite talented defenses and like the chunk runs sometimes. Here's the thing with him. Like, I don't think it's yet been exposed, but Marcel Reed is gettable. And I don't want this to be taken as McShay's just dogging A&M, McShay's dogging Marcel Reed. I am not. I see the growth. His footwork is better this year. He's making throws this year that he couldn't make last year. He is more decisive at times. And they're doing a really good job. I think Colin Klein was a great hire by Mike Elko. Again, I love Mike Elko. I love what they're doing. I love their defense. Special teams had that one blunder early with the punt block safety that they did get a kick return that was massive in this game. All three phases. One of the best coached teams and programs in the country. But if you play a disciplined brand of football and you have the cats up front to chase him and bottle him up a little bit, he's gettable. And I saw this, and I've seen this throughout the year, and I went back and watched this tape because it was an awesome game against an LSU defense that was in shambles, and I know you'll get to that in a minute, Steve. But he exploited, with his athleticism and his quickness and his ability to think on the fly so well, he exploits defenses that get out of position and make mistakes and aren't disciplined. Auburn bottled him up pretty good, man. And I'm looking at this, I'm looking at the, down the stretch. I think he can be got. I think Missouri and Texas are two defenses that are going to give Marcel Reed a lot of trouble because while he thrives in chaos, he takes himself out of the structure of the offense a lot. And I know that stick nod in the end zone, he threw the interception. Like a lot of good quarterbacks will get beat on that look. But there are times and decisions that he makes, and there are times where he can stay within the confines of the offense and takes himself out. And there's a lot of times where he's patting the ball and holding on too long and gets away with it and has gotten away with it. I'm just saying, against quality defense, and Texas hasn't played to the level every week, but they did against Oklahoma one week. And we know Missouri's, we saw it even this past week, bottled up Pavia. What do you have, like 17 rushing yards on 13 carries? I'm just looking forward. And while I believe that they are up there, I think it's Ohio State and Indiana and Texas A&M deserve absolutely to be that top tier of college football right now in the rankings. I'm saying this shit ain't over for A&M. Marcel Reed's going to have to play better, and I wonder when he's going to be got, but I think he might be got at some point. And I think if A&M's to go down, it's going to be because of some of the things I'm telling you right now. So I'm just forewarning that.
Yeah, I love the take. I mean, you watch these guys back to back, and you have a really good feel for it, and I understand, but like, I don't
just file this. Just file this moment. Because I went into it trying to heap all praise. And I hope people understand I'm heaping a lot of it. But I'm saying there's trouble on the horizon with Marcel Reed and this Texas A&M offense. And I don't want to be first. I don't want to like to get on your phone. I'm not trying to be first to market. I'm just saying experience has told me in tape study that there's trouble on the horizon.
They could drop one. I could absolutely see them dropping one. And Marcel Reed is super inconsistent. I understand that. I get that. I also think he's extremely dangerous. And I don't know if it's one game, I might want to face Chambliss instead of Reed. But teach their own. And you just watch them, and I love that. I didn't watch them back to back like you did. So obviously you have a better feel for it right now.
All right, moving on. Go ahead.
Excuse me. Sorry.
I got you choked up. I love your hat backwards today. I feel like we're back in the film room, you and I, even though we're at a distance today.
It's a nod to Mangold, man. Like he always had to have it. Oh,
I love that.
Yeah. Little nod.
The McShay Show is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is changing the way you live bet football, and it starts with Next Drive SGPs. Now you can bet what's happening on the next drive. Will it end in a touchdown, a punt, a field goal? Then stack player props and build your bet exactly how you want it. And every NFL game day comes with a profit boost you can use on your Next Drive SGP. Listen, I'm looking at this spread, 11.5, Monday Night Football, Chiefs, Commanders in Kansas City. I just think that they're begging you to take the Commanders, so I'm going to ride with the Chiefs. I also think that Rashee Rice is destined for a touchdown this game. In fact, wait till the end game. Start to look at the next drive. Maybe when the Chiefs get the ball, maybe a couple times throughout that game, go with Xavier Worthy. He's going to walk away with this game with a touchdown. Anyway, visit FanDuel.com/McShay to download the app today and bet the next drive your way. Must be 21 and older and present in select states, or 18 and older and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. Opt-in required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable profit boost tokens. Restrictions apply, including any token expiration and max wager amount. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. This episode is brought to you by American Eagle. Listen up, and you heard it from me here first. American Eagle just launched the second drop of their exclusive limited edition collab with True Colors by Travis Kelce. And I'm pretty excited to see what new styles are out there. From incredibly comfy graphic tees to cool jackets to vintage-inspired rugby sweatshirts, you're going to find something you love, guaranteed. Not only that, but American Eagle also has so many new arrivals that just dropped, from trending jean fits to cozy flannels to luxuriously soft sweaters and more. You can check it all out on ae.com or just head to the store.
Tape truth number 4. I'm not here for the scapegoating of Harold Perkins and for the LSU defense. And I want to be very clear about this. I am not here also. I am not the PR guy for Harold Perkins. I am not his agent. I am not here to tell you that he played better than he did. I'll get into the Perkins stuff right away, Perkins Jr. stuff right away, and what my concerns are, both from what's going on with the LSU right now and as a quick snapshot of the draft process as well. A couple things I didn't like. I didn't like when Reed broke the long run early. The long touchdown early. I thought Perkins, the motor wasn't as good as I've seen it in the past. And when Reed cut back, if he had run as hard as he could, I think he might have made a play there. I really believe that. There were a couple times that Reed just shook him in the hole. There was a couple times that Perkins was late reacting. He weighs 220 pounds, and he's playing inside linebacker right now instead of that star position. And it's not a great fit because he can get pushed around. I think that might be happening because Whit Weeks isn't in the lineup. So yes, Perkins did not play well. And the concerns I had about from a draft perspective about what his position fit will be in the NFL have come raging back. I thought maybe this was going to be the year that he kind of proved that he's kind of that nickel safety, and that would be the role he played in the NFL. I'm not sure about that because he's having problems making plays in space, and he's reacting a little bit later than I would like to think, or that I would like to see. That being said, this LSU defense gave up 42 points and 426 yards to Texas A&M on Saturday night at home. There's a lot of blame to go around here, man. Like, let's not pretend that this was like that LSU was going to win this game if Harold Perkins played better, and they just picked on Harold Perkins all night. I just don't get that narrative. I don't get that take. And in fact, this LSU defense that we were so high on, the 3 teams that they've played that are currently in the top 25, they've given up an average of 34.7 points to those 3 teams. The defense has not been good. And when you watch the tape, it's clear to see what's happening. I mean, it's a mess. Guys are trying to do too much. Guys are getting caught out of gaps. I get that the 268-pound tackle Gooden, Bernard Gooden, that they like him as a disruptor. He's 268 pounds. And that Texas A&M front is physical. And when they got their hands on him, he looked 268 pounds. The transfer from Florida State, I'm just going to be 100% honest about this. Patrick Payton is an absolute bust. I'm watching him getting collapsed inside. Dude, you can't. I know you're supposed to be working inside on a slant. You can't go 3 gaps inside. That's just not a thing. You got to get vertical at some point, man. And it's creating creases. And then Harold Perkins is coming over the play to try to make the play late. And it looks like he's missing a tackle or he's late reacting, when the reality is that's not his goddamn play to make. That's someone else's play to make. But that guy's getting run down the sideline, and the linebacker, West Weeks, is too far upfield. I mean, this is A.J. Halsey, the safety who I love. He's got force on one play, and he gets caught peeking inside, and they run right outside of him. Defensive tackles are running into each other's. Guys are dropping to the right spots in coverage. This defense is an absolute mess, and it's sad because it's disappointing. I don't know if it's sad. It's disappointing because we had such high hopes after that Clemson game for Perkins and the defense, and they just haven't played up to that level. They just haven't done it. And some of it's probably Whit Weeks not being in the lineup, but that's not all of it. It's not all of it, but don't give me this, even the play that, and listen, Herbie's awesome at what he does. And he probably has forgotten more football than I'll ever know. And I'm not trying to go there. But when he talked about Perkins spying in that goal line situation, I just didn't see it. Perkins gets to depth. He turns his head, looks for crossers, which I wish he wasn't doing. I wish he had a better feel for where he was on the field in that kind of coverage situation. But he is looking for crossers. He's not spying. I've never seen the mechanics of a linebacker who's spying a quarterback where he's turning his head to locate crossers and getting depth like that. I just don't think they were doing it. And even if he was, again, he's not making plays in space, so it's a problem. But all of that being said, LSU had a systematic failure on defense, and it's been an issue really since the Clemson game. They've been regressing the entire time. So don't give me the everyone piling on Harold Perkins about this game, because there's plenty of blame to go around.
Oof. It feel good?
Yeah, I just didn't like the way it was, when you're really, I get it. These are big boys playing. They're getting paid now, and they're playing on big stages for big programs, and they deserve the criticism they get. And Harold Perkins Jr. certainly deserves the criticism that he gets. But it just felt like, and not necessarily from the broadcast. I'm not saying that Herbie was doing that. I don't think he was doing that. But I felt like the reaction on social media afterwards was like, Harold Perkins is just, what happened to him? And he's just the worst and all of that. And we've had some listeners who have had some strong reactions as well. And I understand. But if you watch that tape, that is a systematic problem for LSU on defense.
Yeah, Harold Perkins has proven that his position in the NFL and in college football is not off-ball traditional linebacker.
They got to figure something out for him.
Who has and the injury to Weeks obviously forced him back into a role that he was unsuccessful in last year. And there's a reason we went and met with the defensive coordinator in the offseason. They came up with more of a star position for him because it features all of his strengths and it masks some of his weaknesses. I even sent you a clip watching last night as I was watching Marcel read, and I'm watching the other Weeks brother in play, ball snap, almost like grabbing him and like trying to pointing no there. But as you mentioned, well, what's Weeks doing on this play? And how about the 60 plus other plays? There's just, this is not a defense that, whether it's, and I think Baker, is a good coach, but there's something lost in translation, it feels like. And I think initially Perkins was taking a lot of the heat from the message boards and all of that. But I think very quickly it transferred to Brian Kelly and the captain of this ship took on all the water as he deservingly did for what had happened.
They're not good enough up front. They haven't been in a long time. They just have not been. They have not been those LSU defensive fronts, the back in the day that we all thought were impressive. They haven't been good up front like that in quite some time.
All right, sticking in the SEC, because this was a big SEC weekend. Tape truth number 5 is that Alabama wide receiver Ryan Williams drops are actually a thing. I feel like we've been all tiptoeing around this. And I'll be honest, I've mentioned it throughout the season, and I keep wanting to excuse it. And I think you've heard it in me, kind of mentioning it with some curiosity. And this is the second time in just a 72-hour period, Steve, where you've been you're always my whatever, Batman to my Robin, and I'll just be Robin, whatever it is. You always, you every once in a while you'll be like, hey, why don't you go in this direction? You send me a text why don't you just look up it's 14 drops. It's a clip reel. Look it up. So I did. I got back home last night, sat down and watched the 14 drops. And here's the thing with Ryan Williams. And I let me start with this, Alabama fans. No one's a bigger proponent. I picked Alabama to win the national championship. I have a great deal of respect for Kalen DeBoer, and it's always that third season for DeBoer where the program is installed, or is it second? What is it? Third season, right? Or second season? I guess, no, second season. What am I talking about? And Ty Simpson is my number one quarterback on my board. I think he's playing at a higher level, even though I said Trinidad scares me the most right now with the way they're dealing offensively. Ty Simpson's the best quarterback in college football. And I love Ryan Williams' talent. I can't wait to see him as a draft prospect, and we do all that thing next year. And Alabama, this is not affecting Alabama to the point where it's cost them. but I have my concerns, and they were growing. And I look like Bama deserves all the love. 4 SEC ranked wins in a row, never done before. And it was bound to be somewhat of a letdown against a 3-4 South Carolina team on the road. And it was like a live dog, South Carolina was at home. This is our chance to spoil somebody else because our season's been spoiled and has not been what we expected it to be. And by the way, I want to mention this little nugget that I read yesterday. Prior to yesterday, there were of FBS teams that trailed by 8 points with 3 minutes remaining in all FBS games. Those teams that were trailing were 2 and 239. Or no, 293. I wrote that. 293. Only 2 times did the team that was trailing by 8 points with 3 minutes left come back and won. Alabama became the third. So this was kind of that resilience. I feel like every championship run has a game like this. And they overcame. The timing was off. They just weren't playing in rhythm, all those things. But I once again, one of the questions in the back of my mind was, there's another drop for Williams. What's going on here? He's too talented. It's him and Jeremiah Smith and above all the other great receivers that we're going to see in 2027. So I went and watched the 14. And I'm not going to go through each one of them, but I did this for you as the audience. It's I don't want to say it's very simple. I kind of broke it down into 3 categories because all 14 of the drops over the last 2 years, and there were 143 catches. So this is a 10%, just about 10% drop rate. That's significant. And it's especially significant for one of the elite top wide receivers in all of college football. Someone this talented should not have a 10% drop percentage or ratio. But I broke down the 14 and some things became very clear. And I wish I had done this earlier because it was 7 drops a year ago and say, yeah, he's a true freshman. He's doing so many special things. He'll off season kind of get his bearings. He's got bigger and stronger and all that stuff. But this year, that was 7 drops, Steve, in I think 13 games. This year, he kind of missed a little bit of time. We're talking, what, seven games played probably for him? Something like that. He already has 7 drops. He's already matched that number. So it's not getting any better. And the tape study showed me that it's really 3 things. One is there's this combo of eyes picking up the ball late / not quite confident at that split second right before the ball comes in. You can tell. You can tell by the helmet moving, and he's not picking it up in time. There were 5 of the 14 that were that. 3 of the 14 where he's just, and I think part of it's a carryover where it's like that last split second and the lack of confidence tracking the deep ball. I'm talking balls thrown really well. 2 of the 3, like in the bread basket, dropped. So tracking it over the shoulder, tracking it in. The most concerning, though, of them, actually, I don't even know most concerning, but the one that jumped out the most and happened the most often. I think the concerning part is like that last second eyes, the confidence, losing track of it and kind of not sure of it. That hand-eye, yep. But the last one has the most, and that's 6 of them, concerned about oncoming contact. Just can't be the case. That's a lot of I don't know if it's as much physical as it is mental. The lacking confidence and then worried about a defender that's coming in, like the Wisconsin guy in the goal line recently, like coming right in. Looks in the olden days, he probably would have like ejected and just knocked him out. But you can't in college football anymore. But he still has a fear of it. 6
he's been banged
times.
Up and he's lean.
Yeah, but it happened before then.
Yeah.
So, and listen, like Arian Smith, I remember Arian Smith had way worse struggles than this. Like really struggling and fighting the football at Georgia. And the Jets drafted him, I think, in the 4th round. I don't even know what production he has right now. But I remember reading a thing this summer where they're doing the combination of high reps catching, like this training with like the jugs machine, and then also strobe goggles, using specialized goggles with lenses and alternate between clear and opaque, forces the brain to process information faster and ignore external distractions. So like there are now ways. It used to be like, get on the jugs, man. You got to catch 100 balls a day.
Yeah.
Now it's like there are very specific tailored things to help with this. But I'm telling you, for Alabama, there have been missed, like big chunk plays and first downs, missed opportunities. And when it's on the line, we keep talking about they're going to Jeremy, not to Ryan. They want a big play. They're going to try it, and he creates a lot of big plays because he's such a special talent. But it's a thing. And it's something to keep an eye on. And I'm certain it's going to be something that he's going to focus on, the coaching staff's going to focus on in the offseason. Because if that doesn't improve, there's concern. If that does improve, he's a top 5, top 10 pick. So it's going to be fascinating to see how this all works out. Go ahead, Steve.
All right, tape truth number 6. Pitt who is third in the ACC now. I don't think they're gonna run it out and compete for an ACC championship, but they can very much play the spoiler and have an impact on the playoff picture. So Mason Heichel is an 18-year-old freshman who came in and had his first start against Boston College. They replaced the starter Eli Holstein with Mason Heichel, and since that time,
well, he went off in that game.
Yeah, he went off. Dude, he's been going off. Pitt's been going off. They're 4-0, and they're averaging 41.3 points. 41.3 points in those 4 starts. He is, I mean, just to get into him a little bit, just what he can do, playing with a lot of poise. He moves well. He can extend plays. He can make off-platform throws. He really seems to be trusting the system. I think Cade Bell, the offense coordinator for them, is doing a great job. Something that I think is really interesting for them is they have 4 wide receivers that are averaging better than 15 yards per catch, and they have a running back that's averaging 14.9 yards per catch. This is a quick strike offense. And why I think that is important, one of the reasons why I think that is important, is this is a team that down the stretch plays. They host Notre Dame, they're at Georgia Tech, and they host Miami. They have the opportunity to rise up and strike and really make an impact on one of those teams. They beat Notre Dame, it's over for Notre Dame. They beat Georgia Tech, all of a sudden they're going into the Georgia game the next week with a loss, and it looks a little bit different for them. Miami, that would be their second loss in conference. I mean, they are in a position to make some moves. The other thing that's really interesting about them, they have 2 different players with punt return touchdowns. They have, I think, 7 different players with interceptions. Their defense isn't good enough for them to I think really make an ACC push. I think they will fade at some point. And so it's not like I think that Pitt's a contender for the conference, but there's enough ingredients there for them to surprise one of these teams and shock a team and make an impact on the playoffs.
I love that.
I mean, it could happen. They're in a good spot to do it. It'll be interesting. Now they've done it. I want to be clear about this. The 4 teams that they've beaten, the run they've been on is bottom tier ACC. Okay, they're about to. They're about.
Yeah,
to
but you're seeing things, Steve. You're seeing things.
Right. There's enough there. They could lose every game out. They could lose every game the rest of the way. But I will tell you, there's enough there for teams. They better cross their T's and dot their I's going into that game. They better know what they're doing.
All right. Why don't you take the next one since I went on such an SEC rant,
dude? The North Texas kid. Drew Mestemaker, he caught my attention. So my tape truth number 7 is,
dude, the North Texas kid. That's all it should be.
It is no fluke that North Texas is leading the FBS in points per game and is 7-1. I saw that. No, I didn't realize how good of a season they're having. The only loss is South Florida. They're 7-1, man. They can make some noise too. But Drew Mestemaker, if you missed the show on Saturday night, the last time he started a football game was for the JV team in high school. And he wasn't even the full-time starter at JV. The last time he was a full-time starter was a freshman in high school. So he did get some high school reps. Now, one of the things I think is very interesting was his safety and a punter, and he was a team captain. Goes to speak a little bit to his leadership. He's also a redshirt freshman, so he did get some, not a lot. He got some playing time last year for North Texas. So that's kind of what that's the background there. He's playing like a 5-year starter right now. I mean, and he's playing free too. The poise that he's showing, the way he's delivering the ball, his accuracy, his arm strength. He's got a lot of tools for a kid who could get on the field because he's playing behind a guy who's playing baseball for Baylor now, and Deuce Adams, who's a redshirt freshman quarterback at Louisville. I mean, those high schools in Texas, man, they get talent. That's why this kid wasn't getting on the field. But that being said, I'm watching. He's playing free, man. They got a wide receiver there. I can't find his name now, but he can run. They got a guy who can run. They can strike downfield. They get a ton of yards after catch, which speaks to his accuracy as a passer. I watch that offense, man. It's a lot of fun. And I'll say this about those two kids, the Haynes kid at Pittsburgh and this Mestemaker kid. They play young and dumb. And I don't mean like they make a lot of mistakes. They just don't know any better, and they're just letting it rip, playing with house money. This is fun. We're in college. We're just throwing the ball around. They look completely free of any kind of stress. They're not shouldering any, like, no one expected them to be doing this, either one of them. Heinz wasn't supposed to be the starter coming in. Mestemaker didn't even really play in high school. No expectations, and they're just going out and slinging it, and it's fun to watch what they're doing.
It is a wild story. It's like
crazy.
quickly becoming one of my favorite. Like, we got a D2 quarterback leading, like, just tearing apart the SEC. And we got this guy who never even started in high school throwing for 600 plus.
600.
And
by the way, the wide receiver's name is Wyatt Young. I got to get that in there. But also, I'm watching that Charlotte tape where he throws for 600. There is a wide receiver that is wide open on a 55-yard touchdown. He's behind the defense, and he drops the ball. There were a fair amount of drops on this kid's tape.
So he could have had 800.
He could have gone for 800. Yep, easy. He could have had a season in a game.
I love that. And I know.
I hope he doesn't transfer. And Wyatt Young, by the way, is a sophomore too. They could have.
I told you the comments are already that he's Indiana's next.
I know, yeah.
And good on him. Like,
it's gonna be tough to keep him. I get it, but I don't know. I kind of hope. I like the idea of him staying in North Texas and just being like that North Texas legend,
becoming like the next TCU.
Be awesome.
All right, tape truth number 8. Breaking news.
Here we go.
Tim Tebow has risen, and he's wearing a Yellow Jackets fit every Saturday for you folks.
Oh, come on.
Haynes King is Tim Tebow 2.0 without the Florida fit and the supporting cast. What the hell is taking everyone's... I'm annoyed. I just haven't dug into Haynes King. Like, I saw him at Manning Passing Academy. I see him watching games on Saturdays. I haven't dug into his tape because he's not really one of the top 15 quarterback prospects. I just went through and I started watching tape, and I kept watching more and more and more. And like every 5 plays, I'm like, oh, this is Tim. What's different? It's the uniform, the supporting cast.
He's not as thick. I don't think he's as thick or powerful as Tebow was.
But he's the closest thing to Tim Tebow that we've had since Tim was reigning terror on the SEC and had moms and grandmothers and sisters like worshiping at his feet.
I love Haynes King, by the way. Love Haynes King. I think Tim Tebow's a different level. But go ahead.
I am uniquely qualified. No one took on more water than I did for a 4-month stretch when I made the decision based on tape that Tim Tebow is not going to be a great quarterback in the NFL. And that was and I was too young to even know that a hot take could help my career. In fact, when it started to happen and we saw people at the Senior Bowl and national media flooding around, and all of a sudden I got a circus around me, and I'm hiding out in the bus with you and Weidel because I don't want to go outside and answer more questions. And I go to Thanksgiving, and my mom and my sister, wonderful human beings, very religious, God-fearing humans, are screaming at me and don't even want to pass the mashed potatoes at Thanksgiving meal because I'm saying Tebow's not a good prospect. And I got Shelly in the Urban Meyer house. I can't walk in the house, into the front door until I have a conversation with her. That was a hard period of time in my life. You know that.
Yeah, I remember.
Mail during the anthrax time from Baptist preachers down south praying for my hatred. Those are all true stories. I got Tim Tebow's mom pulling me outside over pro day and thanking me for providing motivation for her son, and that they pray for me.
A real bless your heart moment.
The reason I bring up all those interesting stories is, do you know how many times I went back to Tim Tebow's tape to double check and triple check and like not do a 90th check to make sure I'm absolutely right? Because I'm realizing this is like a cross I'm going to have to die on. Not to bring it back to the religious part that I started the entire show with.
This take is going to get some real attention, by the way. Just
I'm
so
not
you
even
know.
trying for the. I'm just telling you.
I know you're not.
And
That's
I
not
even
who you are.
when I was
It's not
done
who
last
you
night,
are.
and I'm writing down my notes. Like I don't understand why this has not been like there should be like game day features on like Tim and what showing some of the highlights. They play the game the same exact way. Yes, you can nitpick like one's a little. I think Haynes is a little bit more fluid and athletic. We all know that Tim was more powerful and was the squats and the lifting and the strength. But like they both play the game with this aggressive, physical, attacking style. They can't beat you on a lot of pro style schemes. They're not going to beat you with their anticipation and throwing the ball into tight windows or even driving it down the field vertically, but for an occasion when the scheme and their fear that they install or whatever they strike into the defense creates a one-on-one where they can take a shot down the field. This is an offense operated by Haynes King on power, aggressiveness, toughness, run threat, and leadership that just is Teflon tough. There is no quit in this man. I'm not saying he's superhuman. I'm just saying there's like God only makes a handful of these kind of competitive cats. And so when this ball is snapped to him, is it a QB power? Is it a zone read option? You got to defend all 52 plus yards horizontally. And you better be ready to buckle it up because we got a fullback playing quarterback. And that's what Tim was. Tim was the best fullback maybe in the history of college football, but he was getting the ball snapped directly to him. And he had instincts and game awareness and a toughness and this drive that like very few have ever had playing college football. In fact, that drive was so strong and the power running and the commitment and the desire to win was so great. He even won an NFL playoff game. And I remember sitting in the green room in Bristol, Connecticut, and Trent Dilfer, who agreed with my assessment and was my supporting camp the whole time, like, your eyes aren't wrong in what you're seeing with Tim. Hang in there, kid. I know you're getting chastised and ruined publicly, but you're not wrong. Came to me and said, you know what? We may have made a mistake on Tim. Maybe we didn't factor in just like that unique trait, which is his competitiveness and his toughness and his ability to see creases and grind it out in those certain moments. And I'm watching Haynes King, and I'm watching the numbers he's putting up, and I'm watching an undefeated season for Georgia Tech, and I'm looking around and I'm saying, yeah, the offensive line's good, grinding group. Wide receivers are making catches when they need to. Running backs but this is all Haynes King carrying Georgia Tech in the same way that Tebow got up in the press conference was after Ole Miss and like, this will not happen again and apologizing. There is a drive in Haynes King that we haven't seen in a quarterback since Tim Tebow in college football. And this Georgia Tech team is primed to maybe go undefeated in the regular season and be in the college football playoff. And it's because of King. And I'm shocked that this hasn't been more of a thing because I just see Tim Tebow when I watch Haynes King on Saturdays.
I love it. Listen, there's a lot. We get caught up in hyperbole sometimes, and there's a lot of tough and competitive kids who play college football. I can say this. I'm not going to say who's the toughest is. There's no one tougher or more competitive than Haynes King. I can say that comfortably. He is the key to everything they do. I understand that. I'm not, I got to watch more. I got to go back and watch more because I don't know if I can go Tebow, man. But again, I love the player. I always feel like you put me in these spots where I'm not ready to go as far as you are, and then all of a sudden it sounds like I don't like the guy. Haynes King is awesome. Haynes King is awesome. And he's been awesome for a while now. If you watched that Georgia tape last year, he is just a gutsy kid.
He's Tebow 2.0.
Okay. All right.
Go ahead. You're
Fine. Have it your way. All right. Tape truth number 9. I'm in love with the Cincinnati offense. Listen, we're not stats people here, but I gotta run through some stats really quickly. And I am going to talk about quarterback Brendan Sorsby and how he is the key that turns the whole thing. But it's more than Sorsby, okay? They are 13th in the FBS in scoring 38.3 points per game. They're 8th in the FBS in rushing yards per carry. They are 1st in the FBS in fourth down conversion percentage. They are 10 for 11 on fourth down this year. They are almost unstoppable on fourth down. They are tied for 4th in red zone scoring percentage. Who are they tied with? Alabama, that offense that we love. Also, Brennan Sorsby hasn't thrown an interception since the season opener when they lost by 3 to Nebraska. They
I did not know that.
They have not lost since then either. Now he does. As always, there's a couple. Oh, whoa! And he got away with
TWPs, turnover-worthy plays.
Yeah. There's always a couple of that, like that. Like last week, he had one against Baylor. I was like, dude, if that linebacker had any kind of hands, you would have been in trouble. But that being said, he hasn't had one, and I think it's something to be said for that. So when you look at those numbers, and especially I think the red zone and fourth down, you have to talk about Sorsby's ability to make plays with his feet, and he can do it in any which way. You want to do read zone, he's a threat on that. Quarterback power, he's a threat on that. You want to scramble, he's a threat on that. He is dangerous when he keeps the ball. He's a constant threat to run, and that really is a big part of their offense. In addition to that, I think he's a really good trigger man on the RPO. Gets the ball out, he can be very accurate. He has the arm strength to strike downfield. But this is a team that's balanced and runs the ball well, and they have a big offensive line that's not necessarily very athletic, but will get hat on hat. And they run the ball well, and they're deep at running back. But the guy I really like is Tawee Walker. He is 5'8". He is 218 pounds. So if he looks like he's 250. He's a guy, that, for lack of a better way, a little bit of a bowling ball. But dude, he will hit you. He will deliver the blow. He is powerful. He keeps the legs turning.
Wasn't he that cat that we got in trouble with the FCC because we showed a clip of
Was that him?
I think it was.
Oh,
yes.
Maybe it was him.
It was.
I don't remember, but anyway, he runs like that guy. He runs like
Connor
that guy.
came racing in our offices. Fines everywhere.
Yeah, it was. I didn't even put 2 and 2 together. So yeah,
we got to scratch together some money to pay the FCC or whatever it is.
Yeah, so I'm watching his tape, and he's that dude on every play. He's that guy on every snap. He actually catches the ball pretty well too. And then they got some depth at wide receiver, and they got a day 2 tight end prospect at Joe Royer. This is an offense that's dangerous. Now they're at Utah this week. That's going to be a big test for them. And they got BYU the week before Thanksgiving. That's going to be another big test for them. So they got some games coming up. But I love this Cincinnati offense, and I would not want to play them right now.
I'm going to go to another school that's a little bit off the radar too, and we'll finish it with Tape Truth 10. I love that, by the way. And by the way, Jeff Lewis, my brother-in-law, it's now become a ritual. Like he doesn't want to break the streak because for fear of bad luck. But every Saturday before the game, he now texts what's Mench's thoughts on the Cats. So he's thrilled to have you on board. Tape Truth number 10. Bear Bachmeier at BYU is back on track. Everyone relax. We saw a little dip. We thought
what a name, by the way. Love that name.
Cinderella's slipper might be falling off. Arizona and Utah, those were not his highlight reel games, okay? But he got back on track this past week. The big win. Sometimes when we watch tape, just like share, like pull the curtain back. Sometimes when you watch tape, you go on like, I want to watch Bear Bachmeier. What was different this week than the last couple of weeks? And you just expect to be maybe like an hour, rip through it, few games. And then but then sometimes you get grabbed by something and you wind up in a rabbit hole. It's no different. Like if you're sitting at home or driving in your car right now, listening or watching the show, and we appreciate everyone who's supporting us. And couldn't be more happy with the way this thing's going, and it's all because of your support. But like anyone who's sitting in their car or walking around listening to this right now or watching, you've all gotten in a rabbit hole on the internet, right? Sometimes in tape, it's the same thing. I wound up in this. I have 2 pages of notes mentioned on BYU's offense that I don't know that I'm ever going to use. I'm certainly not going to go on for 35 minutes right now. But the reason I kind of got gravitated
so it sounds like you went out for coffee with BYU and then you guys ended up grabbing dinner.
Yeah, and woke up the next morning and still there.
Okay.
Well, we said they've earned now the right to take first date. This is my first date with BYU.
Yeah,
I've watched BYU.
It went well, apparently.
Tape. Yeah, it's now 2 a.m. and I get some tough decisions to make, bro. You know what I mean?
Yep. You slipping out or you staying? Going for breakfast. And
there was some nostalgia to this thing. You know? This offense is the offense of my childhood. This is no tempo, spread ya, RPOs. This is like 80s, 90s. I was expecting, like, just throw on bigger shoulder pads and let's do this thing. Strong run game. They're 16th in the nation in rushing, right? 216 rushing yards per game. Let's not get, good story, get messed up with facts, but I think that's right. That sets up the play action. You got this freshman quarterback who came in and unexpected, had to start for circumstances and has done great. But then there was this dip in like a 2-game period. And then the last week, all of a sudden, things are starting to go again. Okay. Few things stood out to me. First of all is player development at BYU. You can't always, in today's day and age, it's some of these powerhouse programs in the Power Four, with the NIL and the transfer portals and all the things that we know about. It's hard to get a guy, keep him, develop him, and all that. Well, at BYU, they have that. It's not that they don't bring in some transfers, because their tight end's a transfer, okay? Their tight end is on his third start, Carson Ryan, number 20. Fourth-year senior, only transfer of the key guys in that passing attack, but from UCLA to Utah to BYU. I'm not saying you can't, but BYU, because of the culture and because of the the Mormon backdrop and everything else, there's a tendency to be able to get a player, develop them, and see growth over the course of a career. Well, there are 2 receivers. Parker Kingston, if you watch him, he's the Z wide receiver. A little undersized by comparison to the X wide receiver. The X wide receiver is Chase Roberts. Kingston's number 11. Roberts is number 2, okay? Roberts is 6'4", 210 pounds. Kingston's 5'11", and 187 pounds. Kingston's always been a good return specialist, always been good with the ball in his hands. But you've seen the growth in his game over his career. Already has 34 catches, and it's not a big number. This is a pro-style 1980s offense, right? But 34 catches through 8 games compared to 32 catches, Steve, his first 3 seasons. Keep him in the program, develop him. When his time is up, he's ready to go, and we're going to see him playing at a high level. And he's also averaging 15.2 yards per catch because of that run after catch ability, okay? Especially the last 4 games. He's had 412 receiving yards compared to just 104 in the first 4 games. He's taking off. Now with the X, I told you about Chase Roberts, 6'4", 210 pounds, another 4th-year player developed. Here's a guy who's gotten better every year. His 22 catches back in 2022, 42 catches in 23, 52 in 24. And then this year, on a similar catch pace, but with the highest yards per catch average of his career with 18.5. It's all about chunk plays off of play action for this offense, and especially for Chase Roberts, okay? And here's the important takeaway from the tape.
Takeaway, I like it.
All that stuff is to set up what's going on at BYU and who the characters are, okay? But the most important thing I'm going to tell you is that it's all about catching that split second, this offense in the play action game, catching that split second when a linebacker or a safety, whether in zone or in man, has been gotten.
Takes the bait.
The carrot, dangling the carrot out there. Give me 1 or 2 steps in the wrong direction. And so with a young quarterback, he was finding those guys, but it was inconsistent. I'm seeing in Bachmeier, he's now knows where his eyes are to go, and it's happening faster. And yes, you say, well, just the last 2 games, he wasn't great. But I see some, and maybe it was from some of the failures and the mistakes that were coachable moments. But this past game, you're starting to see a guy who's operating this thing, okay? And the whole design is to slide one. So play action, the offensive line's going this way. We have to respect this run game, all those things. And then all of a sudden it's booted out. Where do my eyes go? That's the whole deal. And he's got this, Bears, honestly, is a national treasure. He's wearing 47. He's a runner. He's a tough guy. Is he a fullback? Is he a quarterback? And he's got this, how do I describe it? This funky, attached,
shot put.
Yeah, attached, but then javelin style throw to him. So none of it looks normal. From the 47 jersey to a freshman to attached javelin. But he's selling the hell out of his play fakes. And now his eyes know where to go. And he's got these veteran receivers who are making They're just fun to watch. They're fun to watch. This bad boy's getting in rhythm. And I'm not saying I'm buying them. I'm not saying they're one of the, if we get into a college football playoff, that they're going to make this long run. I'm just saying there's a lot to like. And there's kind of some nostalgia to it if you're an 80s, 70s, 80s, 90s baby. And it's going to be interesting, though, because they've got to weather a hell of a storm.
I was going to ask you. Yep.
They got a bye week to build off of it, get healthy, and get ready, because this thing's about to get serious. Like, remember the perfect storm we lived up in the Northeast? You got storms coming from every direction. You got to batten down the hatches. Texas Tech in Lubbock. TCU comes to you. At Cincy, that team that you love dearly right now, at Nippert Stadium. And then UCF. Those teams, UCF's the least scary of the four, but it's coming off of those three games, and they're not horrible. Those four teams have a combined 24-7 record. So we're going to find out a lot in November about BYU, but it was a fun tape study.
Awesome. I love it. I love that he's wearing 47. It's the best thing ever. Offensive lineman, I'm guessing, love him. No like diva to him.
No. And if you, check out his social. There's some fun stuff. He's bare. He's 47, and this thing's growing. So the McShay Report is out. It's coming out on Thursday. If you're not a subscriber, subscribe. If you got it to do it, premium subscriber. We're doing a big mailbag on Thursday. It's Rough Draft on Thursday. It's our new flagship show for NFL draft, college football, looking ahead to the week. But we're going to answer all of the premium subscriber questions, and we'll cover all things college football, NFL rookies, NFL draft, coaching carousel. Whatever you got for us, we will answer on the show, and whatever we can't get to on the show, I'll do a whole nother newsletter. And then Saturday night, we're back for the most fun show that we do all year long, and that's the Saturday Night Live reaction show on YouTube. So we appreciate all your support. We're excited for this week to come. And Muench, as always, man, 5 stars. Must be 21 plus and present in select states. For Kansas, in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut, or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 1-800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York.